Hi, welcome to my first video called Paint a Healthy Meal Prep with me. My name is Christine and I'm a watercolor artist. I always begin by preparing all my tools in front of me and making sure that all my pigments are wet so that they're easy to pick up with the brushes later on. The idea for painting this stems from Lisa of Downshiftology's healthy meal prep videos, where she would prepare ingredients for mixing and matching later on in the week instead of packing ready-made meals. Before this, I subsisted on chips and fried food, which I know isn't good. But seeing all those beautiful colors of the vegetables and the yummy way that they were plated inspired me not only to incorporate more greens and colors into my own cooking, but also it gave me the inspiration to take out my watercolor things and begin painting with frenzy. I thought I'd start with some broccoli, and here you'll notice that I like to alternate between heavily pigmented marks and really washed out, almost watery strokes. I like using the blues and mixing it with my greens and then switch to a more brownish, yellowish green. For me, this makes the painting seem more alive. Watercolor tend to dry lighter, so don't be worried and don't be scared about laying on dark colors. When it dries, it's gonna be much lighter, as you will be able to see later. The same principle applies for all of my paintings. So here with the carrots, I would go with yellow-orange and then drop reds into some areas too. Now, I can't remember if I've ever had a chance to buy carrots with the stalk still intact. If it happens that I can't conjure something from memory, I would go into Pinterest, search and choose an image that appeals to me the best. And that's exactly what I did here with the carrot leaves. I picked a photo and decided how I wanted to interpret that into my painting. I use two brushes sometimes so that I can dedicate one to warm colors and the other for cool colors. This prevents rinsing repeatedly and wasting paint in the process. I like to manipulate the paint sometimes using a paper towel. I've only ever cooked with canned mushrooms before, but again I went to Pinterest and searched for raw portobello mushrooms. Maybe soon I'll have the courage to use them for a meal. My plan of attack here is to get a pale base and then let it dry for a little while. But you'll see later that I'm not always patient and kept worrying the paper with more wet paint. It made the colors creep farther than the area where I liked it to stay, but in the end I think I did a pretty good job salvaging it. I decided that a bright pop of lemon at the upper left would be perfect. I intentionally let some of the wedges touch to let the colors bleed into each other and leave a clean gap between others. I don't even know where this sudden food obsession is coming from. I've been following MasterChef Australia religiously for only a month now, and though I find their hygienic practices dubious, I'm entertained at how much simple ingredients can transform into mouth-watering masterpieces. I hope at the end I could say the same for this painting. Here I am, impatiently, stubbornly laying down the darker underside of the mushrooms, even though the paper is clearly still very wet. I get tunnel vision when I'm painting and I just want to get my idea down as quickly as possible. I don't feel time passing at all when I'm painting. I would even forget to eat. I wanted to include a red cabbage in here somewhere, but my trial sketches in the scratch paper were a disaster. My first attempt just looked like an appealing purple blob, while the next looked like an even more unappetizing brain matter. In the end, I settled for incorporating just a smidge bit of the red cabbage color into my garlic. I think it turned out quite well. My mushrooms are dry enough for real this time, so I went back in there to add more details. At this point, I'm worried that this mushroom at the foreground is starting to look like areolas. But I think after I fiddle with it some more later on, that sounds wrong, it'll look more like mushrooms. So the broccoli is also super dry at this point, and I just want to darken a few areas just to give it more depth. Next thing I want to paint is a tomato, and I wanted to capture the cute leafy stem at the top. But this is the first time I'm painting that, so I'm unsure how to go about it. Red and green are complementary colors, so I'm scared that accidentally letting the colors touch would give me an ugly murky brown. Experimentally, I leave white spaces where I thought the leaves should be, but as usual, I'm not winning any awards for patience, so some parts did touch, but it turned out okay, I think. I attempt a different method for the second one, which ends in a disaster. Throughout the rest of this video, till the very end, it would look like a bedraggled sea creature that wouldn't stop glaring at me, accusingly saying, "You did this to me!" I promise the final output isn't as horrendous. Next up is rosemary. After putting down a few stems, I realized with a smack to my forehead that rosemary has woody brown stems. So I quickly add those in and added in the leaves. For this, I've never done that thing where you splatter on some paint splotches, but I thought it would add interest, so I went ahead and flicked it to brushes. And here's the final piece. I hope you liked it. Bye!